Well, hello, you lovely, beautiful light beings.
Hello.
I hope you're all doing well. We just wanted to mention real quick at the top of the episode, head over to patreon.com/Bledsoe said so if you want to get up in that mothership Discord. Also, my boy right here's got his own show, full disclosure. I don't know how many of y'all, you better have got that on camera. That was great.
Oh, you know it.
I bet. Yeah, he's got his own show over there. It's just Ryan, just like candidly giving his thoughts. It's awesome. We got some merch out there if you guys want to be in the new age drip.
BledsoeSaysSo.com.
BledsoeSaysSo.com. And then follow us on Insta. What's
I don't know if we've ever plugged it, but my wife handles our Bledsoe Said So Instagram. It's just, I think it's at Bledsoe Podcast or it's Bledsoe Said So. Easy to find. Mm-hmm. And she just puts so much thoughtful attention and detail into announcements and keeping people engaged and, updates about the show. And if you want to follow along,
at
definitely.
Bledsoe Said So.
At Bledsoe Said So.
Yeah.
We also just really genuinely love seeing you guys' thoughts and comments.
Yeah.
We love interacting with people on the socials. So come say hey to us.
I think the Twitter is at Bledsoe Podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
How we doing, boys?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling physically under the weather, but emotionally I'm very content.
Okay. How about you, Alex?
No, I'm doing good.
For you guys, you're just seeing another episode, but it's been a little bit for us.
As always.
As always, yeah. So I just want to catch up with my boys. This is going to be a slightly different episode, just because we have recently had some pretty crazy sightings. Some pretty crazy experiences.
You're telling me the Alien podcast talking about aliens?
Yeah, for once. For once.
We ain't the Alien podcast. Wash your mouth out with soap.
Yes, sir. I'll be right back.
Yes, sir. He's like your loyal little follower.
He said, yes, sir. This episode is kind of the whole point of the show. I mean, sure, we love doing the content. We love doing all the esoteric stuff. But at the end of the day, this is what it's really about. It's the real stuff that's going on. So, I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, it's ultimately, we talk about all the deep, mystical concepts and stuff like that. We really, talk about that stuff between the major experiences to kind of, contextualize them so that when we do have new experiences and new stuff to talk about, you'll have the knowledge that you need to know exactly what it is that we're seeing, what we're experiencing, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of wild that I'm saying we now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is.
You know what it's wild because, we've talked about it on the show before, but as long as, I've been friends with the Bledsoes.
17 years now.
God, dude. I feel old when you say it like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, 17 years.
I mean, I'll be 30 in 6 weeks, bro. And you just turned 29. That's an announcement. Where the appraised. Nick's birthday was 2 weeks ago.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, this is the 2 or 3 month period of every year where me and Ryan are the same age. So, the world is in
full... For a month and a half.
The world's in full alignment, for that one brief time. And then he ascends past me. But yeah, all these years, it's I'm hearing about for the first many years. It's I'm hearing about these experiences. I'm talking to your dad. I'm talking to your siblings. I'm talking to you about the things that you guys have seen and experienced. And then I start seeing some things kind of sparsely, kind of spaced out.
You had definitely seen things, but it was very spaced out, like you said, and it was usually just way up in the sky.
Yeah. At first, it was just super few and far between, and then there have been periods where I'll see it a little more often, but usually for me, it's super few and far between, and. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but at first, the first couple of years, I was maybe the first year or so, I was afraid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was that's scary. That, it was one of the first, I guess it's probably one of the first things that really challenged my existence or my concept of reality. That's a better way of putting it. It made me really existential, really existential. What does this all mean? It seemed very, I don't know why I was afraid of it. it's probably just like the whole like fear of the unknown thing.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, I'm to make a long story short, we had some crazy experiences over Father's Day weekend.
Let me back us up for a second. So, I'm gonna go quite a bit back.
Okay.
So a few months ago, obviously, okay. So we're in June. Dad's book came out February 19th. He dropped it a week or two early, intentionally, kind of like how we dropped the podcast early.
Right.
It's just a good move, I think. You know, it's like a surprise to the people. And you know, Nick and I and Alex have been doing this podcast now this month for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been, you know, a long time for us.
Yeah.
And Nick has been just doing this regularly. We're on our schedule. We're 100 episodes in, by the way. You know, even though this is probably like episode 102 or 3 or 4, something like that. This past week, we just dropped episode 100. So we're still very much reeling from that.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting for us.
It really is.
My point is, Nick's family still had not really had major experiences yet. Your mom and dad in the last 12 months have seen things.
Yeah, they had like one major sighting, which I'm pretty sure I talked about.
I know it was December for your dad. Because
it was over your old house.
Yes, I was in Cleveland, Ohio at my wife's friend's wedding, and I'm in the hotel getting changed to go down to the wedding ceremony, and your dad literally calls me, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, Robert, Mr. Firminides is calling me. It must be important. And I call him right back, like, hey, is everything okay? He's like, I just had sightings. He's telling me the story. And we had him on. He told that story. You know, for those who might not be aware, his dad had an awesome episode. And he talked about many of his sightings. And, like, they're into it. They believe. You know, they've been coming around since Nick has been doing this and really curious about it and understanding and opening their minds to it. And it's been awesome. But then I think, you know, so Nick's mom read the book.
Yeah.
And she's been texting me about the book.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit.
Yeah. That book blew her mind. I mean, it shook her to her core.
Yeah.
She has been she's pretty much talked about it every time I've seen her since then. She got my grandparents to read it. She's like out there passing it around to people like, you need to read this.
And that's beautiful because I feel like that was like a double down for your parents to really be behind you in doing this, which, you know, that it's nice. It's just nice.
It is, and it does feel good. Because, I mean, I will say it's not really a secret, but, like, you know, for years when me and Ryan first started hanging out, they were like, what the heck?
Well,
like,
everybody was.
Exactly, yeah. But, I mean, they were no exception to that. They were like, that's weird. I don't know nothing about that. It is what it is.
It's not Christian or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. And I would even explain to them, like, no, like, you know, Mr. Chris says that, like, this is like spiritual. These are like angels and all this stuff. And they were basically like, well, I haven't seen nothing like that, so I don't know. And that was their mentality for a while. But I do think when we started doing the podcast, that was like the first getting the foot in the door.
Right.
And
for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. And then, mom reading the book.
Yeah, so fast forward a little bit. About a month ago. I know why the conversation started because... you know, even so basically, since we manufacture our podcast shirts, I was able to link it up with our family members to try and get them some at, like, you know, a lower rate to try to hook up family. But, like, we don't have physical stock, so I couldn't just hand them out. And I was linking up with your mom to get her X number of shirts, and we just had the conversation going about the podcast, and she wanted XYZ shirt from our store. And we just got to talking about it, and she was like, "We should get together. We should I'd love to hang out with your parents and maybe get coffee or something." Mm-hmm. Oh, and also I forgot to mention, a few months ago, like literally within the last 3 to 5 months, your parents were at a restaurant. I don't want to say what and, like, you know, give it away, but not that it's a big deal. It's just Jenny's on me about doxing locations and things. Yeah. Anyway, your parents were at a restaurant. My parents were there, and it was total, like, serendipity, and they bumped into each other, and they had dinner together.
Yeah.
And, like, that might not sound like a big deal to anybody out there listening, but we've been friends for 17 years, and this has never happened.
Right.
You know, I don't think my parents had ever even met your siblings, ever.
Yeah.
You know?
I think
it's like they're older. Like, there was no reason for them to be coming to my house. Mm-hmm.
They have their own families.
Right, yeah, they have their own kids
and
their own spouses. And anyway, so it was kind of crazy that our parents had dinner together. So they had kind of been tossing around the idea, like, we should all get together. Mm-hmm. So what kicked it off was about a month ago. I'm, working with your mom through text about getting her the shirts or whatever, and she's like, "I'd really like to see your parents." And I was like, "I'll tell you what. How about y'all come over to my parents' house, and we'll do like a cookout kind of thing." And then I texted my mom and dad. They're like, "Yes, yes." Okay, so now fast forward to now. I'm setting the stage for why this was also weirdly orchestrated. So we had been anticipating for a month we were all going to get together at my parents' house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get over there, we're having a good time, and also another big part that we were excited to get together was for our my niece to meet Ryan's
that was
nephew.
the thing. That was also the thing.
Yeah, because my niece is 4, Ryan's nephew is 3. They're both they're kind of lonely kids. They don't really have a lot of friends, and so
They're COVID babies.
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. And so we wanted them to meet, maybe they could just have a little friend. Maybe they'll hit it off and they can be friends and they can hang out and whatever. So everybody was super excited about that. But yeah, we're talking a huge gathering. Like my parents, my brother, his wife, my sister, her kids, my brother's daughter.
Kid.
Yeah, my brother's daughter. And then
My whole family.
yeah, your whole family, your parents, Jeremy, Emily, Jack, Chris Jr., Jess, everybody.
There was about 20 of us.
Yeah. And we just get over there and we're just having a good old time. For the first little bit, we're just kind of sitting around talking. We're eating pizza. Everybody's vibing. It's such a good time. Everybody's having a blast. And then my niece Leah, shout out Leah, love you.
Shout out Leah.
She is 14. She's about to be 14.
Yeah, July 4th. Something, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, I really want to go fishing.
Because we live on a pond.
Yeah. Your family lives on a pond. And also, it's all wildly serendipitous. Because, Robbie and I have been talking for the past couple of weeks with Chris Jr. about going fishing. We've been like, hey, let's get together, let's go fishing. Because we've kind of been working in proximity with each other. My brother owns a lawn care business. We've been sending Chris business. He's been sending us business, whatever. And so Leah's like, I really want to fish. And Chris Jr.'s like, oh, let's go. He goes, he gets one of his fishing poles, he lines it up, he puts the bait on it and everything. He gives it to Leah. She goes out on the dock and she starts fishing. And for a while, my dad and your dad were out there helping her, and Teddy's running around on the whole yard. Chris Jr. is chasing him. That was so funny to see, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen a child so desperate to rebel against his father.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he would be running away from Chris and then run underneath the dock. He would run under the dock and your brother would have to run under it to try to get him. That was so funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's a funny kid. And so, and a little preface. My niece and nephew, Leah and Jonah, who are my sister's kids, since we started the podcast, they've had just this kind of random fascination with it. You know what I mean? Not just the podcast itself, and not just that their uncle has a podcast, but the subject matter.
Well, they believe their uncle.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? They're innocent.
Absolutely.
They support you. It's wholesome.
Yeah, and I'm not precious. I tell them everything. Tell them I treat them like adults. I tell them every bit of information about the podcast. I'll get really deep with them, and if they have questions, I answer them to the best of my abilities. So I try to kind of stoke their curiosity. Mm-hmm. I try to keep that flame alive. There's bigger things out there than most people know. There's weirder things out there than most people know, or whatever. So Leah she's always asking me questions about the podcast and about the beings, the light beings, the Bledsoes, everything. So she's out there fishing. And at this point, it's getting to be about 6:30, 7-ish. It's twilight, the sun's going down, whatever. So she's fishing, and people were helping her at first, and then they went away because, your dad started flying the RC planes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, your dad started flying the planes, and everybody's just captivated by that. We're all just like locked in watching Chris Sr. fly his planes around. It was so cool. And everybody stepped away from the dock to watch your dad fly the plane. And then all of a sudden we hear Leah scream, "I got a fish." We turned around, she has a bass on the line. She's got it out of the water. And I walked over to her, and I was like gonna help her get the fish off the thing. And when I went over there, she said, "I just saw something in the woods." And I knew at that point, I was like,
Here we go.
Here we go.
So let's back it up just another second.
Okay.
Because it was a long night, and a lot happened. So his parents and everybody, Nick's whole family shows up at 6. And just a couple days before I texted his mom, we finally settled on a time after a month of figuring out we were going to hang out on that day. And then just days before, we were like, well, why not 6? We'll show up at 6.
Yeah.
Your mom had another family birthday party at 3 or something, and she was texting me about it. And it took us a while to figure out the exact time.
So it might have actually been around 8 when she caught the bass.
I think so, yeah, because it was just getting dark.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I'll tell you what, why don't y'all come over around 6? And that way, if you're interested, it'll be closer to nighttime and we can skywatch. And your mom was like, oh my God, we never even talked about that.
Yeah.
Until just mere days before. And your mom was like, I would love to. I want a skywatch. And I'm like, yes.
We're in.
Yep. So your parents get there, we're eating pizza, whatever. About an hour into it, maybe 7:30, I go up to Dad. Hadn't even told him yet. I was like, Dad, I just want you to understand, his mom has read the book. They really are into it, and they've had some sightings. They would really like to skywatch tonight. Do you think tonight's a great night? He's like, oh yeah, big smile. Dad's like, are you kidding me? Yeah, the more the merrier. It's a good crowd, vibes right. And I said, cool. What time do you think they're going to show up?
Like the beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because lately it's just progressing, and I mean, you saw, he just knows when they're there. He knows when they're going to be there. He said 9:30. So it's about 8, something like that, Leah catches the fish. And we're like, whoa, that's weird. Mm-hmm. People aren't just out there catching fish. That was already kind of like a...
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting her to catch anything.
Oh, me either.
I was like, she'll just have a good time casting and just sitting out there on the dock. It'll be cool. Yeah. She caught a fish, and we were like, whoa, okay, cool.
Good
she
for
caught
you,
a fish.
girl.
Awesome. Yeah, and I walked over there. I was going to help her get the fish off the line. And she's like, I just saw something in the woods. Mm-hmm. And Jonah was next to me, and he said, I didn't want to say anything, but I saw something earlier. And so then I was like, okay, all right.
And then Jeremy says, or maybe it was you said, did y'all hear there's a rare planetary alignment this weekend?
It was Jeremy.
I pulled up my phone and I was like, of course, it's tonight. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. We like we said, we had been planning this for a month straight. And the night of, an hour or two before things started getting crazy, we found out, there is a 5-planet alignment happening tonight.
Yeah.
That felt extremely synchronistic.
So it's about 8:30. Leah catches the fish, and Jonah is her 11-year-old brother, obviously Nick's nephew. Yeah. Sweet little kid. He's just such a sweet little kid. Yeah, he really is.
He's pure.
He's pure.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Steven.
Yeah,
from Steven, he's kind of like that.
He is. I tell him that.
He's not goofy like that.
Right.
But he's pure like that.
I got him into that show, and I was like, dude, you're Steven.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's just following his sister everywhere and watching her fish, and he's starting to call out to me. And there's 20 of us on a 13-acre wooded lot. So there's a crowd of 5 over here, crowd of 6 over here. Dad and Robert are off looking at airplanes. We're just all mixed around, you know. And I walking to the kids and you, and I'm like, I want to see what they're seeing, So it's about an hour and a half to 9:30, whatever. And I stand there with them, and I didn't see any orbs, because every time I turn around, Leah and Jonah and you are like, there's another one. There's another one. Y'all started seeing flashes in the woods.
We started seeing them frequently.
Yes.
I was like, to be perfectly honest, when they were saying they saw something, in my head I was thinking, probably, they saw someone's light in their yard, or maybe they thought they saw something or whatever. So I was like, let me stand here. I didn't not believe them, but there was a little kernel in my mind that was like, let's see if they're really seeing something. So I went and stood on the dock with them, and I was like, where'd you see it? Leah pointed, she said, over there in the woods. I said, what did it look like? And she said it was like a little like bluish white dot, and it just like zipped by. And I was like, okay, that sounds pretty on point. I was like, that sounds pretty accurate. In my head, I'm thinking this. So I was like, all right, let's check it out. Let's see. Within, 15 seconds, Leah, Jonah, and I all saw like a bluish gray. Dude, it wasn't even like an orb, because I won't say like it was quote unquote humanoid, because it was so far away I couldn't see it in that detail. But I can say what I did see went from about 4 to 6 feet off the ground down to the ground. It was like an oblong figure. So like,
Yeah.
my first thought was it's like a humanoid.
I ended up seeing that too.
Oh, you did?
Yes. That's
With
what I was
Leah?
Nope, with Jonah. I was going to go there next.
Oh.
So all the excitement was going on. I think Leah was putting the pole away. You drifted off with her.
Uh-huh.
And me and Jonah were standing there. And little Jonah, man, he was mind blown.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, he was so innocently, I say innocent. I mean, like, he wasn't scared. He was so excited.
Yes.
He was like in shock, but in the good way.
Yeah, to be honest, looking back on it, I'm like, dang, I don't know if that would have been my reaction if I was their age. Like, I might have been scared, you know?
Honestly, that was kind of like our reaction, not Chris Jr.'s. I mean, his experience was different, but, you know, like me, I was always like that, like, oh my God, you know, always so positive about it,
Yeah.
never scared, because that's how Dad taught me to be, you know, don't, there's nothing to be scared of. Never, don't be scared. So anyway, so you and Leah walk away, and me and Jonah are standing there looking, and Jonah's showing me, and I still hadn't seen what y'all were seeing yet, you know? And Jonah's like, right there, I saw it right there. And then at that moment, he and I both saw a form. Like, I didn't see like hands and a head.
Right.
It was like a shadow.
Vague, yes,
it was
it's like a
vague.
shadow.
It wasn't like dark black. It was like gray looking.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
We had to have seen the same being.
no doubt. It was like an energy.
Yeah.
It
It almost
like,
had a haze about it.
yes, and it was like probably like 6 foot long.
Wow,
like it
bro.
was not an orb. It was a form.
See, we haven't discussed this in this detail yet.
We hadn't seen each other since.
Right. That is exactly what we saw.
Yeah.
So it was the same thing.
And it ran across the tree.
Yes, that's literally what it did with us.
Yeah.
And bro, so then, you know, y'all saw that. I'm over there talking to somebody else, telling them like, "Yo, we just saw some stuff in the woods." I might have been talking. I don't remember who.
I took off.
Might have been talking to Jenny or somebody. I don't remember who I was talking to. And then Jonah comes back over to me and he says, "I'm seeing flashing lights over the water."
Oh yeah.
And again, I guess I have a naturally skeptical brain, because again, then in my mind I was like, maybe he's just a little excited, maybe, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, bro, he pointed where he saw it. And that's when I saw an orb flash like I've never seen before. I've never seen that. What happened?
Describe it.
Okay.
I didn't see it, for the record.
You didn't, yeah, well, it was the same thing that was flashing later.
Right, but I wasn't there for this
okay.
moment. I don't know this part.
So, at first, I saw something flash by the dock above the water, a very, very small flash. My first thought, firefly, obviously, you know? That's, your brain tries to rationalize it. Immediately, I see it flash. I'm like, oh, it's probably a firefly. And then it flashes 2 seconds later in a completely different location. And then I'm like, okay, so I really want to pay attention here. I was very curious in that moment. I wasn't like, I didn't feel my heart racing. I was just like, you know what it was? It was like, I'm obviously having some kind of experience or opportunity or whatever right now. So if that is really happening, I want to be here and be present and witness what is happening.
Right.
And make sure that I understand what's happening here. So I started paying very close attention. I started looking at the water and I was like, I'm going to see another one flash and I'm going to pay very close attention to detail. So very, very quickly, I see another one flash. And then I'm like, okay, I've seen fireflies my entire life. I've seen fireflies. I always have seen them. I know what they look like. They have that greenish yellow hue to them. They kind of, they not slowly, but like they kind of fade in and fade out.
And I also keep going.
And oh yeah, they don't like stop flashing.
Yeah.
Like I mean they may briefly, but
they slowly like keep strobing.
And it's not like an instantaneous flash. It's like a kind of droning almost.
A pulse.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like a pulse, exactly. But I saw another one, and what I could relate it more closely to, it was like a spark of electricity. Mm-hmm. It was like, you get shocked by an outlet in the wall for a split second. You see that little streak of electricity. It was like that.
Wow.
It was like a pop. There was no sound, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, it was like a millisecond. It was barely perceivable. Just so fast. Pop. No sound, but like flash. And then Jonah and Leah are pointing, and they're like, look, there. And I mean, at that point, it started happening a lot. It was like, and then after maybe, 30 seconds, we probably saw 6 or 7 flashes. Dude, we would see one by the dock, and then we would see one 100 yards away in the woods. Flash.
Less than that.
Oh, yeah.
Realistically, the tree line that we were looking at from that dock is realistically no more than 50 yards away.
Okay, so
it's close.
About 50
it's
yards
very close.
away then. And none of them were the color of fireflies. None of them were like that like, greenish yellow. They were like, we saw a blue one. We saw a white one.
We saw yellow ones.
We saw like a reddish orange one. And then it just stopped. It just stopped. Like,
this was still daytime.
Oh, yeah. The sun was still out.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun was out, bro.
This was like pre-gaming for Nick. This was y'all's moment. This was a special moment for you three.
I felt that way.
It was. Because when y'all started seeing this stuff, I took off. I walked about 50 to 100 yards away. I mean, I don't know the exact distance, but it's a big property. I took off to our this might sound confusing to the listener, but basically my grandmother owns a really big lot somewhere just on the border of Fayetteville with like multiple buildings on it. It's like a pond, and my parents had a tragedy with that original property. They basically had to get out, like an eviction kind of situation. And my grandma was like, well, you can just live on the pond. But beside my parents' cabin, there's also like a recreational building where we have all our family parties. Mm-hmm. You know this, but they don't.
Sure.
It might sound weird if I say go to the kitchen building.
Yeah.
So we had all the pizza and all the food, and we're all hanging out at the kitchen building. So I took off to this building, and I went to tell all the adults, your mom especially, because I really wanted her to see something, and dad and your dad, and I was like, the kids are seeing things. Like, y'all better come on out here. And nobody was in a rush. Yeah. Everybody in there, Chris Jr. and Robbie were chilling a lot.
Yeah.
And your dad too. And like, nope, they were all just enjoying meeting each other for the first time so much that they were like, we'll come out there later.
We'll see it.
So this was like Nick, Leah, and Jonah were having a crazy awakening experience over there on the water, and no one else was nearby.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly.
It was honestly wild because it felt like we kept trying to get people's attention. Like,
Yeah.
Are y'all seeing
I
this?
was running like, come on.
And everybody's just like having their own conversations. It's just me, Leah, and Jonah like shocked. We're seeing freaking humanoid gray figures running in the woods and pops of electricity, all different colors flashing over the water. We're like, what is going on? I mean, we were mind blown. And then, dude, that like supercharged the kids.
Oh yeah,
They
dude,
were
Jonah's
like,
eyes, you could see it in his eyes, man. He was like, he was like just activated,
yeah.
you know?
So your dad and my parents and everybody, they come over and we start telling them what happened. And Jonah runs up to your dad and he's telling him, I saw this. And then your dad, like very calmly, he's like, you kids are magnets for these beings. They want to appear before you because you're pure of spirit. They want to appear. You're like little magnets for it. And he said your focus and your attention makes them appear. Mm-hmm. He said just focus on a point. Focus where you want to see them. And he said, and you might see them.
And then immediately Jonah turned around, boom, he saw one.
Pointed.
Like instantly.
Yeah. He literally just like thought about what Chris said and then looked out at the water and pointed and boom.
Dude, I'm saying it was
another
like
flash.
Dad finished the sentence and Jonah went boom, and there it was.
Yeah.
It was like seamless.
It flashed where he pointed.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I knew for sure, because I had a brief moment where I was like, oh man, I hope those aren't the only things we see tonight.
Oh, no.
And when Jonah pointed and another one flashed, I was like, dude, he like freaked out. He was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, dude.
His world was rocked.
It's about to get crazy.
I love that, man. He's such an adorable kid. He showed up with his little podcast shirt.
Yeah.
He had it was oversized.
Yeah.
You know, like
he had it tucked in.
That was awesome. And it wasn't even 9 o'clock yet.
Yeah.
So about 9 o'clock, finally, we start rounding everybody up. And your parents were ready now.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
getting dark. They were like, okay, let's go skywatch. So everybody's around. And my dad has all these lawn chairs. Your parents apparently brought lawn chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't recognize them, so I guess they were theirs. And we're sitting there, and like, I think Jennifer, my wife, and Casey, Nick's wife, and Jeremy, and I believe Emily and Leah and Jonah were off to the side talking and catching up. Mm-hmm. And it was like me, Jack, I think at some point you, your parents and my parents. We were sitting there like ready to skywatch. 9 o'clock. We're ready. We're
Like,
trying.
yeah.
Dad said 9:30, 9 o'clock, let's go. So for 30 minutes, and you know, that might not sound like a long time.
But when you're just staring into the sky.
A crowd of like 20 people.
Yeah.
Oh, at this point, Robbie had left.
Yeah.
Nick's older brother, he had left a while ago, and his wife went with him. But otherwise, the rest of us were still there. I forgot your sister too. Your sister was sitting down. She was like, I don't know how I left her out of that. She was watching.
Well, no, she wasn't there.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, she left and went to, I think she went to
dinner
meet
down
some
the street.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No, she
Yeah,
left.
yeah.
And
She bounced out.
She came back probably around 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we're sitting there watching, and 30 minutes is a long time when you're staring at the dark, black night of the sky with stars, and you're waiting to see something, and you're not yet.
Yeah.
You know, it goes on, and I was just like, all right, I'm checking my clock every 2 minutes. 9:30. About 9:15 or so, eventually I stand up, and I walk over to the other crowd, and I'm like, y'all, let's try to skywatch. Like, let's get our mind on this. And about 9:30, after everybody just talking and hanging out and only a few of us really looking, Dad said out loud, and he got it on video, I think. Dad said out loud, he said, y'all, if we quit the football chat and if we all focus our minds together, just like it says in the Bible, where 3 or more are gathered, I will be there. And then, boom, immediately the first flash happened in the sky. And
He didn't even finish his sentence.
he didn't get to. He never did. Mm-mm. And I looked at my phone. It was 9:31.
Yeah, 9:31. And I think you immediately said, what time did you say they would appear, Dad? 9:30.
Yeah, and your mom. So I went up to your mom at like 7 o'clock or 7:30 or something, and I said, just so you know, 9:30 sky watching. You think you could hang around that long? She was like, yeah. So she heard it too. 9:31, boom, and then it's like I don't even know how to describe the rest. if you would want to try.
Yeah, so for basically like from 9:30 to probably 10:15 or 10:30, it was like non-stop, constant light show.
Oh yeah.
It was like
all around us.
It was a spectacle. And we're seeing them in like different forms. And I'm not talking about like, oh, one of them walked up to me and said hello. No,
it's not like that.
It's not like that.
It is for Dad sometimes.
You're seeing inexplicable lights doing things they don't normally do. So I'll describe some of the things that we saw. So for instance, the first one we saw was way up in the sky. But it was way up in the sky.
Yeah.
And it was moving, and it kind of looked like a plane. Some people were asking for a minute, like, is that a plane? Or whatever. And then literally when someone asked that, we started seeing a plane fly by.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh, that's a plane.
Yeah.
It was so much closer. It's blinking. It had multiple lights. It was like obvious, like, yeah, that's a plane. And then look up. That's not a plane. That's a weird light that's moving across the sky. And then I remember, I don't know who said it, but somebody said, like, could it be a satellite? And that's when it started like bobbing. You remember that? And that's when my dad started freaking out. Dad started going, "Oh, whoa!" He's like, "I've never seen anything move like that."
It changed directions.
Yes, it was changing directions. It started bobbing and hanging in the sky. It would like change speeds, and like everyone was captivated, like seeing this like move strangely in the sky. And then while that's happening, another group of people are like I remember Jonah at one point, he was like, "We should all focus on this tree." Mm-hmm. He was like, "Everybody should focus on this tree." And then Emily came over and she was like, "That's a great idea, Jonah." She's like, "Everybody focus on the tree." And within 60 seconds, we started seeing boop, 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 all over the tree, from like the bottom of the branches to the top of the branches, like to above the tree. Different colored lights flashing milliseconds.
Sometimes two at a time.
Yeah. And then it was like flashing here. Oh, turn around. They're flashing over there. So we start seeing the ones flashing by the tree. And I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. And right next to that tree, there's some, I don't know if they're like clothes hanging lines.
Yeah. They're not power lines.
Okay.
They're like clothes hanging lines.
There are a couple of clothes hanging lines. And I
like
started
just over our head.
Yeah, I started seeing like blue-white flashes over there. Like spark, spark, spark.
And this is only like 20 feet away from us, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Like from where we're sitting.
So that was the closest I had ever seen up to that point.
Yes.
And I'm looking at that, and then I start hearing everybody behind me yelling, "Nick, there's one right in front of you. There's one right in front of you. It's flashing right in front of you." And I was like, I turned around to look at them, and when I turned back, I'm like looking sort of towards the ground. About 4 feet off the ground, no further than arm's length from me, it flashed right in front of my eyes.
Now, you didn't see this. And there was so much hysteria in the moment. Everybody, for the rest of the night, everybody's, "Wow!"
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to really get in a word and everybody hear it.
Yeah.
You know, and in that moment, I saw this. When that flashed like just 3 feet in front of you, simultaneously, one flash behind you.
Really?
Yes. I was saying it all night, but I think there was so much going on you weren't catching what I was saying.
Yeah.
I was like, one just flashed behind you.
At the same time?
Yes.
No.
There were two. One flashed in front of you and behind you. You never saw it.
Whoa,
that's what I'm saying.
Bro. God, I wish I had seen that. But I mean, I don't care. You know, for such a long time now, I've been saying like I want to see him up close. And within the past year specifically, I've been saying it a lot. Mm-hmm. Like I really want to see one up close.
I believe you, because I was very impressed, because when they started flashing at ground level, you didn't even say anything. You just walked towards them. You just took off.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I was genuinely like. Like I said, my brain was in pure curiosity wonder mode. I wasn't scared. I wasn't freaked out. None of that. Which, like I said, at first I was scared of this stuff. Like
that's why I was impressed,
15
because
years ago.
It takes a while to kill. The natural reaction is to, unless you know the story, you know how it works, and you're aware of it. I mean, just seeing this, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, if I had no context for this information and I'm just seeing,
it melts your mind.
Oh, I'd probably be having an existential crisis. Like, what? You know, I don't know.
My brother did.
How did that happen? Like, whatever. But I felt none of that. I was just like, I felt like
you just wanted to be closer.
Well, yeah, I did, but I mean, I felt completely resolute that that was like meant for me. Like that flash right in front of my face, I knew it was like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like that was for me.
Well, definitely because it was behind you too.
Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't know that it flashed in front and behind me.
A little Nick Orbs sandwich.
I'll be the jelly in the middle for the
Orbs. That makes me hungry. I forgot. I forgot to say this. But after that moment on the dock where the kids and you started seeing things in the woods, and then I walked up and I saw the little flash with Jonah, immediately in my mind, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is going to be a crazy night. I know it's going to happen. And I just felt compelled. And then when Leah came back, I kind of like huddled the kids and I was like, I just want y'all to know. I don't think you were around for this necessarily. But I was like, I just want y'all to know. Leah, I was your age when this started. I know what it's like seeing it for the first time, especially at such a young age. But I want to assure you kids that it's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's all positive. They're not aliens. They're not this or that or the other. They're more like angels. Like just be calm and just be excited and understand. And then Jonah said, they're just waving at us.
Yeah, dude.
And I said, yeah, it's like that.
Yeah, he was just pure excited.
They were all excitement, no fear.
No fear at all.
It was amazing.
Within that like 45 minutes to an hour period where the experiences were just constant, there were 4 or 5 times where once Jonah realized that he was making them manifest, like he could focus his intention and one would appear where he's looking, he was doing that like the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
He just started being like, he would just hyper focus on an area and then he'd be like, oh my God, I'm seeing him. You know, within 30 seconds of him focusing somewhere, he would start seeing him, which was so mind blowing. But yeah, like, dude, after seeing that flash right in my, oh, by the way, I wanted to mention this. I saw him flash like, you know, multiple times 4 feet off the ground. And I just kept thinking of the beings that Chris Jr. saw. Mm-hmm. Those short, and the one that you saw in your room, in Jeremy's room. Was it Jeremy's room?
It was Jeremy's room.
Yeah. The 4 feet tall, like little, like cherub, you know, like little children spirits kind of things.
Yeah. They're like the
Kodama from Princess Mononoke.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. We're going to,
they're the little innocent little cherub, like, they're part of nature.
I showed Ryan Princess Mononoke and Akira last night.
Masterpiece. Yeah, we'll do an episode on each of those.
Yeah. So like a few minutes after they're flashing in my face, we're looking back up in the sky and seeing more weird ones doing weird things in the sky. So imagine this. Everybody there is facing one direction, looking in the sky, seeing a light, seeing it, watching it do weird things. Everyone. And then your dad is talking. He's sitting in his lawn chair facing
I forgot about this.
Oh, dude. I didn't.
I forgot.
He's like, we're all looking. He's sitting in a lawn chair, and he shoots up out of his chair. Everybody looks at him like, what's going on? He shot up out of his chair, turned 180 degrees around. By the way, he was sitting right up against a building where
the sky behind him was blocked.
Completely blocked. He's also facing forward. He shoots up out of his chair, backs up where he can see over the roof, and points into the sky right at one. But
before he did that, as he was standing up, he said, everybody turn around. There's one behind us right now.
Yeah.
We got that on camera.
Yeah, and everyone looked and instantly saw it. And then it was like 20 people all simultaneously asking, how did you know that was going to be there? Everyone was like, how did you know that was going to be? Everyone. He's like, I know. Like, I just, they I know.
I said, I felt it.
I felt it, yeah. And he's described that so many times where he can feel that vibration. He can feel like that tingling. Dude, he has spidey sense.
Yeah.
He has spidey sense for the orbs.
He has Orby sense.
Orby sense. You should trademark that.
I like that.
Yeah, trademark that for your dad.
No, that was a mind-blowing moment for me because when he does stuff like that is now what blows my mind. It's not even seeing them anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And by that point, my sister was there.
Yeah.
She rolled up.
She came back.
Yeah, she rolled up, and I was like, man, I hope there's going to be more. And it didn't skip a beat. It just kept rolling.
Oh, dude, you don't even know about this.
What?
Your sister stayed till like 11.
What?
And we didn't stop skywatching
and the
until
kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it didn't stop when you left.
That's sick, dude.
So
Casey was feeling bad, so we ended up leaving maybe around 10:30 or so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So his sister comes back. She literally just went a mile down the road to like have dinner with a friend or something.
Probably at I think.
It was.
Yeah.
And she comes back, and ironically, before his sister gets back.
Bleep that.
No, it's yeah.
No, for real.
Okay,
yeah.
It's 46 minutes. No big deal. Anyway, so so your sister gets back, and the ground level experiences, although they had been going on for probably like 20 or 30 minutes, we were seeing like The majority of that's what I'm trying to communicate to the world. We're not just only seeing them in the sky anymore. We're seeing them 3 feet away.
Yeah, and that's why I was so determined to want to see them at ground level, because for now, at that point, years, probably since 2018, that might be around when y'all frequently started seeing them at ground level. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's hard to put a finger on it, but
I know it wasn't always.
Oh yeah, it used to mostly be in the sky.
Yeah, it's more recent.
And then we might have the occasional entity run across the living room kind of thing.
Right.
Now it's like
the occasional casual entity running across.
I've seen a few entities run across inside.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard stories. Jenny had that amazing story about, was it in your front yard?
Yeah.
You guys saw that one run
with it was an orb.
Right. Oh, right. But it looked like a streak.
But I saw one run across.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, it was a flash of white light. It was a little entity.
Yeah, and then, Emily has those amazing stories, seeing them at ground level, seeing like all the, and I was just like, man, that sounds truly spectacular. Because for me, seeing them far away, it was always crazy and mind-blowing and unexplainable.
Yeah.
They move so bizarre. It was like, I know that is something not of this planet. But like, I always felt like, but seeing them at ground level, that would be like
the
transcendental.
Next level. It's the next level.
Yeah, like that would be a major step forward. So I was just really determined. I had been wanting this for a long time. I wanted to see him. That's why it was so crazy. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It perfectly adds to what I was saying. And so we were seeing them ground level, close, multiple in the trees. They're literally like flashing around Nick's physical body.
Yeah, that was wild.
and like all this and in my mind I'm like, hallelujah.
Yeah, thank God.
Because as many guests have come to our property, it's still usually not that intense. Let me just put it this way.
Usually in the sky.
Usually.
Yeah.
Like 90% of them.
Yeah.
And when it's that intense is when it's like, this is significant. Mm-hmm. When it's like Dad's book deal, stuff like that, people coming, it's confirmation for something intense and significant.
Yeah.
Or the History Channel, although that's not out yet and I can't say too much with all that going down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was intense. And
yeah.
the night that your family was here was on that level of intensity as high as it ever has been for anyone coming to our property, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So when your sister rolls back, the ground level stopped. You remember?
Yes.
And for the rest of the time you were there, we were still seeing them like crazy in the sky.
Yeah.
Dozens. And some of the flashes were wild. So I had the intuition that his sister's not ready yet, to see it that close. Not yet. You leave, your mom and dad leaves, little Maddie leaves, and then they start ground level again.
Oh.
And your sister, dude, you should talk to her about that. Or maybe you already have.
We've talked, but I didn't. I thought she was talking about the other experience, which we'll talk about in a minute. I didn't know she was talking about on your property still that night. I didn't know it was that.
She stayed till we have some videos where you don't see her, but you can hear her talking to her. And they started flashing at ground level again, all around us. Not quite like 3 feet away, but she was seeing them like close, like in the trees. And sometimes. It was so crazy. It would be like there's two flashes at once, flash at this tree, and then 30 feet away, boom, this tree. They were flashing all over the trees. And your sister was like, oh my God. And I was literally like, you know what that is? Right? Those are entities. Those are actual entities. I was explaining to her because I had no idea what she knows.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, these aren't just lights, Ashley. These are actual entities.
Spirits.
Yes, they're watching you. They're aware of you. And she's like Jonah, like, oh my God. She was just so stunned. And it was awesome because it's awesome for me to be around people who are having the experience and they're completely open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In the highest compliment kind of way, and no way do I mean any offense by this, but my sister does have in ways like a childlike mind in terms of like the wonder and the imagination and things like that. She does have a big open mind.
And that's not an insult. I mean, that's
not at all.
That's great.
It's a compliment. Yeah. But that's so wild. I didn't know that it continued that night. And then, so we had this insane, mind-blowing experience. like I mentioned earlier, my brother owns a lawn care company. I work for him. So we drop off his daughter every morning at my parents' house. What night was that? Was that a Saturday?
Saturday. The night before Father's Day.
Okay, so before I get to the lawn care thing, the next night, Sunday night, me and Jonah are playing Elden Ring. And we're on the mic. We're talking to each other for hours playing. And then all of a sudden, I hear his sister Leah run in, and she's yelling about something. And, they bicker and fight all the time. They're siblings.
Like kids do.
Yeah. So I just figured it was that or whatever. And I said, Jonah, what's going on? And he said, Mom and Leah are seeing orbs outside. And I was like, whoa, okay. I said, go out there and see it with them. So he takes his phone out there, and he's talking to me still while they're, going out there and seeing it. And he's describing to me that they're seeing not only orbs in the sky like we saw that night, but then they start seeing flashes in the yard.
Yeah.
And I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, Elden Ring's done for the night.
Yeah.
I told Jonah, I said, I'm gonna hang up. You just go and enjoy seeing the lights with your mom and your sister. I'll talk to you tomorrow. And he was like, okay. And we talked about it later. But so literally they independently at their home, they saw orbs in the sky and in their yard, all three of them together. Next morning, I go with my brother to drop his daughter off at my parents' house. And I just kind of casually, my parents were on the front porch. We were just talking. And I was just casually like, that was some pretty crazy stuff Saturday night, right? And they were both like, yeah, it was. Yes, that was mind-blowing. My dad said, that's all I needed to see. He said, any doubt that I had is gone. Like, I get it. He said, I get it. I get it now. I saw it. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
They were truly taken aback by it. They've had more experiences since then.
Really?
I told you.
Your parents have.
No. Sorry, Leah.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that. You should tell that story, too.
I will, yeah. She messaged me last night. And it was a video of, like, her and her neighbor friend. And he sounded upset.
It's like a boy her age, right?
Yeah. He sounded upset and was talking about something. And, I asked her, like, what's going on? What is this about? And she said, I was telling him about the orbs, and about what they are and whatever. And she says she told him, like, they appear as a sign if you for something. They're watching you. They're here to help you. They appear as a sign. So she said, so maybe if you look out and you ask something or you have something that you need a sign for, maybe they'll appear to you and give you a sign. And apparently this poor boy lost his mother. I don't know when or how or anything like that, but he asked, did my mom make it to heaven? And they saw orbs. They saw orbs, and the kid was like freaking out and like crying in catharsis. Like,
that's truly mind-blowing.
Like my 14-year-old niece.
The awakening is happening, bro. I'm going to back up to that Saturday night because after everybody left, including your sister who left around 11, me, Jack, Emily, Jennifer, my brother Jeremy, and Dad stayed sky watching till 11:30. And then finally me and Jeremy went to go to Chris Jr.'s house. Oh, I forgot. Chris Jr. was there too. Did I include him in the sky watching? Anyway, he was there. His whole family was there. Yeah. He left hours before, get Teddy home, and Jeremy and I ended up leaving at 11:30 to go to his house. So between 11 and 11:30, after all of the Fermanitas family left, we kept sky watching. And it didn't stop until we got up and walked away. That's how it is lately. It just, we have to get up and just like, all right, we're done.
It just keeps going.
It just keeps going. Seriously. And like after everybody left, the ground level stuff kept happening a little bit, but that wasn't the mind-blowing part. The mind-blowing part was the orbs we were seeing in the sky started doing different stuff. Like I saw flashes in the sky while y'all were there too, but after y'all left, I saw some bright flashes. And then I saw an orb that, and I think only Jeremy saw this one too, because you know how it goes. One's looking over here, two people might be looking over. You're looking all around the sky. Everybody's not looking in exactly the same place, Yeah. I think me and Jeremy, or it was me and Jack or something, we saw a massive comet-like streak that covered the entire sky, and it had a tail of light.
Wow.
It was a streak.
Wow.
It wasn't like a slow-moving orb.
Yeah.
Jack saw
I've seen
one.
something like that.
Oh yeah, but it's stunning when you see it.
And again, it's like, your brain might try to rationalize it and be like, it's a shooting star. I've seen shooting stars, bro. It's not it.
But
that don't look like that.
Also, like, you can go ahead and rule that out when you've seen, 40 or 50 orbs that night, and then you're seeing this. It's like, I'd be kind of like dumb to assume it's not an orb at this point.
For sure.
But anyway, so Jack saw a flash that he described looked like a Chinese dragon. Like,
what?
Not literally like a dragon, but like it was like a wavy flash of light in the sky.
Whoa.
And it just was insane, man. And I wanted to say this before the sightings start. My dad's always taught me. People are always like, what's the secret? What's the secret? I do CE5. I hear stories from people. We're going to have a guest on soon who's like, I went and did a $5,000 conference with, what's his name? Stephen Greer, and tried to do CE5, and we shine lasers at the sky and didn't see anything. I'm not hating on Stephen Greer. I don't know him. I've never met him. I'm just saying there's a community out there of people who have all these protocols to try to do rituals and summon orbs and this and that, and everybody's like, Chris, what's your secret? He prays. And, he's really humble to the orbs. And one thing he always taught me is, like, they appear when you need a sign or you need a blessing, or you ask them, on their terms. If it be their way, you just give it up. You surrender.
Yeah.
You can't be so forceful and desperate about wanting to see them. That's what keeps them away. That night, you were like, that was your moment when I was 18. And I was like, Dad, I don't understand why Chris Jr. sees him so close and I don't. And then I heard the cows.
Oh, right.
That was the same night. I had the same thought. I want to be closer. Why aren't they coming closer? Because I was so desperate. I was so anxious. And Dad was like, you gotta understand, they're magical. They know your thoughts. They know your intentions. They come when it's the right time. And then boom, I heard it. Same with you. It's like, I'm not saying you were anxious, but you were ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you got your close experience. And before we had the sightings, I was praying out loud, like, please let us have sightings tonight so that the entire Firminitas family can be awakened. I just want them all to be a part of this. And I know that, like, they will understand what they're seeing. And I feel like that was a significant night for all of us, truly. The Bledsoes, the Firminitas.
Yeah, it felt like a bonding experience for our families.
Definitely.
Like, that's what it felt resoundingly like the whole time. I was like, this is a magical, spiritual experience that is binding our families. Like,
Yeah.
Which is funny because we kept saying we'll join our houses about our niece and nephew.
Yeah. Oh, no. Teddy was starstruck over Maddie.
Oh, they were like completely in love with each other the entire time.
Yeah.
But another thing that I wanted to say is, throughout this whole experience, since I learned about these beings, I've never been the one to spot them first, ever.
Oh, yeah. We got another story.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been the first one to see him. It's always like, somebody will be like, yo, look up there. There's an orb. And I'll look up. Might see it. I might won't. Whatever. Might won't.
Might won't.
That was my country coming out. So last night, me, Ryan, and Jeremy hanging out on the back porch. Ryan said something really funny, made me laugh. And I laughed. I was in a rocking chair. I laughed. And like my head went back when I laughed. And right where my eyes naturally went when I laughed and looked up, I saw an orb in the sky, brighter than the stars, and it was moving to the right. And I'm watching it, and I immediately told Ryan, like, oh, I see an orb. Yeah. And Ryan got up, and he came over and trying to look at it, and right the time he got up, it started slowly fading out. I don't think you ever saw it.
I did, not that one.
And so sometimes when you're watching these things, with a dark sky, you can't, like, see the clouds. Mm-hmm. You can't always see the clouds, so you might see the orb like fade and disappear and then like fade and reappear, and that's usually like it's going behind a cloud. So I see it like fade out and disappear, but I didn't see any clouds, so I'm like, okay, it must have gone behind a cloud. So I'm looking to the right to where like it would come out the other side because there was like moonlight. I could see like the ambient, like kind of moonlight.
Yeah, well, it's very humid and misty airs in Wilmington.
So I was like, it definitely
a lot of moisture in the air. There's haze from the street lights and the city lights.
Exactly. So I was looking over to the right, and I was like, well, there's definitely no cloud there because I can see all this ambient light or whatever. So I was looking and waiting, and it never reappeared, meaning like it really, truly faded out and disappeared.
Oh, yeah, just kind of blinked at you.
Yeah, and then we were out there for maybe another 15, 20 minutes, and we saw flashes and stuff like that. But like I've never had independent experiences or experiences that like I see and notice. And the way that I interpreted it was kind of like, you know, the orbs are like, okay, we've been introduced now. Like,
Yeah.
we've been introduced. Like, we're not going to just...
You're not a bystander anymore observing, but I think your connection was awakened. Mm-hmm. You know?
I feel I'm becoming an experiencer now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
True.
I've always felt like I'm in proximity to this and I'm observing it or whatever. But like now, dude, a freaking otherworldly light flashed before my eyes, arm's length.
Yeah,
Right?
you don't just forget about that.
No.
It changes you.
And I didn't know one flashed behind me.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it was like it was like a camera flash.
Dude, I saw. I was right there.
It was bright.
I was like, this is insane. I knew it was divine timing. And then we hadn't even mentioned, it was like Monday or Tuesday, which has only been this week that we're recording this, by the way. I mean, this was only last weekend this happened to us.
Yep.
Obviously, this will come out later, but, you know, today's date is June 24th. This literally happened a week ago today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, just a couple days later from that, our Discord is blowing up because apparently on TikTok it's blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
The Schumann resonance.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, just a very quick little explanation. The Schumann resonance is basically, they consider it like the heartbeat of the Earth. It's the frequency of the Earth. And there's scientists around the world who constantly monitor this. The way they calculate the Schumann resonance is they basically measure the distance of time between lightning storms around the Earth, but like the whole Earth. So like, you know, I guess there's not lightning at exactly every second. It's like the time between the lightning strikes all around the world, and they calculated that's basically like a frequency band of 7.83 hertz. So they're like, it's got to be like the energetic frequency of the Earth, right?
Yeah.
They call it the Schumann resonance. There's a lot of scientific evidence about how humans being exposed to the Schumann resonance has healing effects on the mind and body.
Yeah.
Like, it's just documented. It's a very positive healing frequency. This week, that shit was spiking.
Oh, not only spiking, it was changing.
Yes.
Like it was changing into frequency bands that have never before been observed. And
Higher than it has ever been recorded by far.
And not just that, probably the most mind-blowing thing about it is like you can see like a spectrograph or like a graph, a visual representation of what the Schumann resonance looks
it's
like.
like waves on a chart.
And after this change occurred, which was right after that 5 planetary alignment, come on.
And all the sightings, of course.
Yeah, it's like straight up showing like sacred geometry. Like y'all, this might sound wild. Go look it up.
It's
like,
real.
It is 100% real. You can see the graphs.
Fathom this in your brain. Picture this. We're talking about the Schumann resonance that literally looks like fucking blobs on a chart.
Yeah, it's like a rainbow graph.
Yeah, it's just colors.
Yeah.
It's not even really lines. It's just little waves.
Yeah, it's not defined lines.
This week, it was like Merkabahs.
Yeah, straight up.
And like flower of life and like vector portals and shit.
Yes.
Like specific, precise geometry. Something is happening. That's the whole reason I think all of this is happening. I think that what's going on with our families and with Alex and all, I keep bringing you guys into this because we're doing this project together. It's obviously what's happening to us.
I mean, Alex has had independent sightings within the past few
Exactly.
months. Like, you know, he's having sightings of his own all the time.
Exactly. He wasn't there that night, but it doesn't matter. Like he's a part of this.
Yeah.
And I think that what's going on with us in this project is the microcosm. It's like the foundation for what everybody will soon see
Right.
as we get deeper into this awakening phase.
That feels right.
It's going to spread.
Yeah.
Think about it, dude. Leah sees her first sightings, goes to see her friend 2 days later, and now he's seeing shit.
Yeah, and had a sighting between that.
How do you figure that? Like,
never had sightings, never had none of that. It was like that. It was like last Saturday was an initiation. It really felt like an initiation. Like,
truly.
Like I have had experiences and sightings since then. My family has had experiences. It's like completely independent from anybody else. It's wild. And we got to wrap it up. But the last crazy synchronicity I want to mention is my parents have lived in their house for about 30 years. And last Saturday, the day they were going to come over, they were cleaning up in their front yard, and Mom noticed something in the concrete in the driveway. Maybe I'll try to get her to send it or something, and we could show people, but never seen it in her whole life, didn't know it was there. Looked down, and your dad's name is written in the concrete.
Well, because he built the house.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
We had always known that his name is written on the windowsill. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. What a wild synchronicity. Now, the day. They've lived there 30 years.
Yeah.
They've never seen that. And the day.
He pressure washed the driveway or something and just saw it and was like, oh my God, I'm going to go hang out with Chris later.
Tonight.
It was very weird.
The night of a 5 planetary alignment.
Yeah.
Crazy, dude.
So that's how I think this works. Truly, I as we get deeper into this, and as Dad goes and does his thing and has these crazy developments, I'm starting to see more clearly into how this is going to play out. And it's like this: the more of us who have these experiences and are awakened to what it is, are going to spread it to others, and it's inevitable.
Yeah,
it's going to just avalanche.
Yeah, who knows that kid, that friend of Leah's, he might start having experiences now. He's seen it.
Yeah.
He's seen it now.
There's a reason on the cover of my dad's book, it says, I don't know the little headline verbatim. It says something like a true story of, it's like healings, missing time, hitchhikers.
Yeah.
They put that for a reason.
Yeah.
Because when people see this, they come to our property, most often than not, they go home and they see it. Or like Leah, they spread it, or it spreads. And this is a dark spin, but I think it's worth mentioning. Jim Semivan in the CIA, he's also in the foreword of Dad's book. That's something that he told my dad, that and there's certain elements of the government that are very scared of the phenomenon. That's no secret. That's why they're out there spinning it to be scary.
Yeah.
They want us equally scared of it because they know they can't control it and XYZ. And that's what he told my dad, is they're very worried that the phenomenon is going to spread like a plague.
Wow.
Plague is a negative word.
It's a plague to those who want the material world to continue. You know what I mean?
But it's true.
Right.
It spreads.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's more so spreading like white blood cells. You know what I mean?
Yeah, light blood cells.
Light blood
it's
cells.
really like that. So
yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, we had to break that down and share that with y'all because that was truly one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen in my life. This show is all about these beings, these experiences, and this was a huge event. We had to share it with you guys.
It was one of the most significant nights of sightings for me of all. And it wasn't because of the nature of the sightings, not what I'm seeing. It's who was present.
Yeah, there were so many people there who had never seen anything.
Well, dude, it was your entire family.
Yeah.
That's major.
Yeah, none of them have ever seen anything.
I mean, who cares about all the, not that I shouldn't say who cares, but how many strangers have come and seen things? And it's I'm so happy, and it's such a blessing. But when the people close to me are starting to see this, and not just see it in the sky, but 3 feet away and 10 feet away, and that's just another signal for me. The awakening is happening.
Yeah.
Not in the future.
Now.
It's right now. And I think we're in the next level. Some crazy stuff's about to drop. And as of today's date, we're only 4 weeks and 3 days away from our appearance on the History Channel. Dude, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
For sure. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We love you all. And you know the drill. 3, 2, 1.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week.
Peace.